Monsieur le Président du Conseil constitutionnel,
Chairman of the Constitutional Council, ladies and gentlemen, the French people have chosen, as you said, on the 7th of May, hope and the spirit of victory. The entire world was looking at our presidential election, and everywhere people were wondering whether the French were going to decide to look back on the past, an illusory past, and to see if they were going to break with the march of the world forward and democratic choices, the spirit of division, and to turn their backs on enlightenment. And in fact, on the contrary, they did quite the opposite. They confirmed those values which made them a great people. On the 7th of May, the French made their choice, and let them be thanked. The responsibility which they conferred on me is an honor, and I am aware of the gravity of that honor. The world and Europe need France more than ever. They need a strong France, sure of its destiny, a France which holds high the voice of freedom and solidarity. They need a France which knows how to invent its future. The world needs the French have what the French have always taught it, the boldness of freedom, the demands of equality, and the determination of fraternity. For decades now, France has been doubting itself. It feels threatened in its culture, its model. It has doubted itself, and therefore my mandate is guided by two demands, two needs. The first one will be to try and give back this sense of confidence which has been too long weakened to the French people. And I am absolutely sure that this cannot be an overnight business. It will be a long and indispensable labor. It is essential that our country, which seems to be beleaguered by what is happening in the world, we will have to tap all the resources of all the nations of the world. And I am absolutely convinced that the power of France is not in decline, and that we are at the dawn of an extraordinary rebirth, because we have all the assets in our hands, those which make the powers great in the 21st century. And I shall not yield one iota to the commitments which I have made to the French in that regard. All the resources will be implemented, enterprises will be supported, initiatives will be encouraged. Culture and education, which emancipation is built on, innovation, technology will be at the heart of my activity. The French men and women who feel forsaken by this vast movement abroad in the world will be relieved, and we will be refounding and strengthening our political life. Everything that makes France a confident country where one can live without fear will be strengthened. Republican secularism will be defended, the forces of law and order and the armed forces will be comforted. Europe needs to be refounded, relaunched, because it protects us, our values and principles. Our institutions, decried by some, have to get back the efficiency in the eyes of the French, because I believe in the institutions of the Fifth Republic, and we have to do absolutely essential to make sure that it functions again. The citizens will be heeded, will be listened on every chapter of that Constitution. And this is a struggle of each and every one, the responsibility of all the elites, whether they be political, economic, social, or religious, of all those bodies which make up the French nation, will be called upon. We cannot anymore hide behind customs or traditions. We have to find again the deep sense and the dignity which brings us here together today. And we have to make sure that it is just and equitable for our country. France is strong only if it prospers. France is a model for the rest of the world only if it is prosperous. And that's my second demand. Because we will have given back the taste of the future and the pride to the French people, the world will be attentive to the voice of France. And because we will become the example of a people that confirms their values and their principles, which are those of democracy and the Republic. The efforts of my predecessors in this sense have been quite remarkable, and I would like to applaud them here. General de Gaulle, for example, who did everything in order to get France back on its feet. And I'm thinking about Georges Pompidou, which made of our country a major industrial power, and Giscard d'Estaing, who made France a modern society, and François Mitterrand, who reconciled the French dream with the European dream. Jacques Chirac, who, in the name, on behalf of our nation, said no to new wars, and to Nicolas Sarkozy, who energetically combated the economic crisis which beleaguered the entire world. And then, of course, François Hollande, who made sure that Paris was on the map in terms of climate change, and who combated terrorism. Their activity over all these last decades was damaged by the discouragement abroad in the French nation, by people who felt forsaken and forgotten. What France has to say to the world was weakened by a world situation which was discouraging. Today, ladies and gentlemen, it is high time today to stand proud and challenge the times. And the difficulties have to be overcome, whether they are economic, social, political, or moral. For the world expects us to be strong and forward-looking, and in solidarity with our partners. We shall assume all our responsibilities to respond pertinently, appropriately to the great challenges, whether it be the immigration, migration flux, the excesses of global capitalism, and of course terrorism. Nothing will affect only a part of the population, but all together. We are united, we are all neighbors, and France will always ensure that it is on the side of freedom, human rights, and always to build peace, sustainable peace. We have an enormous role in checking excesses and defending liberty and freedom. That is our vocation. For that, we will need a more efficient, democratic and more political Europe, because it is the instrument of our power and our sovereignty. And I shall work at that. Geography has shrunk and time has accelerated. We live through a period which will decide the future of France for decades to come. And we are struggling and fighting not only for this generation, but for the generations to come. It is up to us, all of us. to decide on the world in which these generations will live. And that perhaps is our greatest responsibility. We have to build the world which our youth deserves. I know that the men and women of France at this moment expect a lot from me. And they're right, because the mandate which they are conferring on me requires absolute determination. I am absolutely convinced and conscious of that. Nothing will yield to facility or compromise. Nothing will compromise my determination. I will defend in all places and everywhere the superior interests of France. I will, at the same time, be determined to reconcile and to bring together all the French people. The trust which the men and women of France have conferred on me confer on me also an immense energy and the intimate certainty that we can actually build one of the, or write one of the best pages of our history. The French people has always managed to find the energy, the discernment, and the spirit of concord to make sure that change does happen. This is where we stand at the moment. And in the light of this mission, I shall serve my people. And I hope I will be able to count on all my compatriots in order to carry out that task, which is before us. And I shall be at work as from this evening. Long live the Republic, long live France.
.36 in the French capital. In the morning, you're seeing the transition of power. Emmanuel Macron, now the president of France. Just a moment ago, he addressed the French people there, giving his vision for the future of that nation. Earlier, he stood alongside the outgoing President François Hollande, who left the Élysée Palace